welcome to our last countryside rights of way panel meeting before the election. So before we start, I'd just like to thank the members for the time they've put in and the officers for the time they've put in, because as you can see from the amount of paperwork that we've got in front of us, there's a lot to go through and a lot to prepare for. So as chairman, I'd like to thank everybody for what we've done so far, and hopefully we have a successful meeting today as well. Could I start please with apologies, please, Zach?
Yeah, good morning, Chairman. I'm not in receipt of any apologies this morning.
Okay, thank you. And have we any declarations of interest in line with standing order 16.2?
No.
Okay. And before you are on page 1, you've got the agenda item number 3, which is minutes of the meeting of the 12th of February. Are we happy with those?
Very good, Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. And we'll move on to item number 4, please, which is the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981, Section 53, application for upgrading of public footpath 67 and 68, Madeley, and footpath 15, Keel, to bridleways. And I presume, Sam, you're taking this one?
Yes. Thank you, Chair, members. This application is from Mr. Martin Ray. For clarity, it is highlighted that the route identified in the report is Keel 15 has since been modified and renumbered by the County Council as Footpath 24 Whitmore. The necessary consultation with Whitmore Parish Council was undertaken as required. The routes applied for are shown between points A to B, C to D and E to F on the plan attached Appendix B. Collectively, the applicant refers to the entire route as running from 3 Mile Lane to Netherset Hay Lane. In support of the application, the applicant has submitted a deposited railway plan of 1858, a highway diversion order of 1834, a second highway stopping up order of 1834 and 1910 Finance Act material, and finally a parish survey and county maps. The Finance Act 1910 shows the eastern point of the claimed route between 3 Mile Lane and Stony Low Farm as separate from taxable holdings. The associated field book entry for the arrangement numbered 203 shows the annotation right of way across farm, and given that there is only one track crossing plot 203, this could refer to the claimed route. In the highway bridle diversion order of 1834, the western end of the bridleway on this diversion order constitutes the eastern end of the claimed route. This order created a new line of bridleway part of which was Ram Lane, and Ram Lane is described as leading to Madeley. The route crosses the Whitmore to Keel Road at Ram Lane before reaching point A on the plan. This provides strong evidence that Ram Lane was a bridleway. The map evidence shows the lane continuing from point A on the order plan through Stony Low to Madeley. The deposited railway plan of the Newcastle, Silverdale and Madeley Junction Railway 1858 shows the western end of the claimed route between Netherset Hay Lane and a point south of Hungerford Harps Farm as an occupation road and public bridle road. This appears to have been recorded by the surveyors of highways. The parish plan submitted with the evidence shows part of the route as a RUP. The final pieces of evidence consist of various county maps, namely Madeley Tide Map, Bacon's Map, Walker's Map and Ordnance Survey maps of 1834 and 1876. When the application was submitted by the applicant identified 3 landowners of the affected land. There was a Mr. Ward of Netherset Hay Farm, Mr Robinson of Stony Low Farm and Mrs Smith of Keel Kennels. One further landowner was subsequently identified as Mr Ford of Stony Low Farm. Mr Ford indicated in the owner-occupier evidence form that he considered the route only to have the status of a public footpath. The other landowners identified by the applicant did not submit any evidence in respect of the application. At the time of the application, various user groups were consulted and responses were received. The Byways and Bridalways Trust stated they supported the claimed route and said the route was originally a cartway or county road and is content with the bridleway status. Madeley Parish Council states they fully support the application. The North Staffordshire Bridalways Association states that it fully supports the application and had always believed that this was and should be a bridle path. They also added it would be particularly useful in solving the problem of horse riders getting between Keel and Madeley without having to cross the motorway on a bridleway bridge. The Right to Ride network states the upgrade would improve access considerably for the area if given bridleway status. On investigating the application, officers discovered 3 parish survey cards for the routes in question from the records of Staffordshire County Council. These being the parish survey cards for Keel 15, Madeley 67, and Madeley 68. The parish survey card for Keel 15, dated the 30th of August 1951, records the route as a CRB, stating this is a farm lane giving access to Stony Low Farm and leading from there into Madeley. Although only the first 700 yards are within the Keel parish boundary and only this section was covered by the survey. It is an open lane with no gates or other obstructions. It is about 8 feet wide and well fenced on both sides. The parish survey indicates that the path started at the Gables, Keel, and finished at Stony Low Farm. It was recorded as a CRB, although this has been struck through and replaced with the letters RP. The letters RP being an abbreviation of the acronym RUP. The survey card also stated there was no documentary evidence available, but the path has been open to the public for many years. The parish survey card for Madeley 68 indicates that the path started at Footpath 67 at Stony Low and finished at the parish boundary about 675 yards east of Stony Low. It was recorded as a RUP. The parish survey card for Madeley 67 indicates that the path started at the county road about 220 yards southeast of Madeley Vicarage and finished at RUP 68 Stony Low. It was recorded as a footpath. It can be seen from the parish survey cards 2 of the routes were considered to be RUPs and 1 was considered to have the status of a public footpath. Madeley 67 was further reiterated as a footpath within the survey card notes for Madeley 68. Again, there is not a complete consistency of status along the entire route, which again introduces an element of doubt to the entirety of the route being regarded as of the same legal status. After circulation of the report, officers received various responses from landowners, parish councils and the applicants, all of which are appended to the report. Keel Parish Council state they have no evidence or comment to add. Madeley Parish Council state they also have no further comment to add, and Whitmore Parish Council state they have no objection to the route. Landowners Miss Anne Ford, on behalf of Mr Ford of Stony Low Farm, object to the application and raise the subject of health and safety, utilisation of the land and compensation. None of these points raised can be taken into account when determining the status of the route. Further landowners, Miss Sarah Rushton again raises concerns of health and safety and traffic concerns. Landowner Mrs Rowley of Oak Ridge Barn has also raised health and safety concerns and the subject of modern development along the route. Again, none of which can be taken into account when determining the application. The applicant disagrees with the officer's recommendation. He states officers have misinterpreted the evidence and the report contains misleading information. This is a differing interpretation of the evidence between officers and the applicant. All the material the applicant has submitted has been placed before you for you to make an informed decision on the application. To conclude, the evidence in this case is limited to the deposited railway plan of 1858. The other submitted evidence is either not directly relevant to the claimed route or is evidentially weak and of a limited supporting value. The railway plan has increased legal weight as the railway was constructed and would have been authorised by an Act of Parliament. These completed railway plans therefore have greater legal weight than those railways which were subsequently discarded or not completed, although it was not the primary purpose of these documents to record rights of way. There is no question in this case as to the existence of a public right of way, as the entire route is comprised of 3 successive and adjoining public footpaths. It is the status that is brought into question by the applicant. In cases where historical documentary evidence is provided, what is looked for is a general picture of whether a route seemed important enough to be documented fairly regularly. No further supporting evidence is available in this case in respect of the alleged status of the route. And so, in light of the evidence set out before you, it is officer's opinion that the evidence is not significant enough to show that a public bridal way subsists on the balance of probability and that County Council should not make a modification order to upgrade the public footpaths that are subject of this application to the definitive map and statement of public rights of way for the district of Newcastle Rural. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate the time that's often put into this. David, could you switch your microphone off? All right, thank you. It's okay, we were getting feedback through it. I think we're used to that, aren't we? Just very quickly for members, this is to my mind quite simple. We are looking at the evidence here, not granting something we think should or shouldn't be there. So in terms of the evidence and the recommendation, could I have any comments, please, from members? Paul?
I think Sam's made out the case that really we shouldn't be looking at upgrading this, and I'll go along with that. We've got to go along with what we're told on balance of probabilities, or on either way of measuring the evidence. It doesn't meet the required threshold. So I will propose that we go along with officer's recommendation because it doesn't meet the threshold.
Yeah. Well, looking at items from 37 on down to 43, one can say that the parish council cards, the survey cards, basically state that it's just it's a right of way. It doesn't accept that it's a bridal way. So I'm going to support Councillor Snape in the officer's recommendations not to accept it.
Okay, thank you. David Smith.
Yeah, Chairman, I've seconded it.
Oh, right. Okay, then. So I don't know whether we actually need to take a vote because Councillor Snape has said that we should accept it. Councillor Smith has seconded the proposal, and Councillor Dudson has indicated that he agrees as well. Could you just all raise your hands just to say definitely? Thank you. So we'll take item number 4, article number 4 the recommended option not to accept the application and not to make a right-of-way order to add to the route to the definitive map and statement of public rights of way. Thank you very much.
Do you also support that, Chairman? Just so it's unanimous?
Yes, I support the recommendation of the officers.
Thank you.
Okay, and sorry for that. And we'll move on to, thank you, Sam, for the time and effort put into the report. And we'll move on to item 5, which is Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981, section 53, application for upgrading of public footpath 73, Audley Rural Parish to a public bridleway, and the addition of a public bridleway Newcastle. Again, is this you, Sam?
Yes, it is, yes. Thank you, Chair and members. This application is from Mrs. Wally. The applicant originally submitted an application for the upgrade of Footpath 73 and Footpath 39 to a bridleway status. However, within a few days of the application, it became clear that the applicant had not intended to include Footpath 39, and that the correct application was for the addition of a section of public bridleway as marked on the attached plan at Appendix B. The routes applied for are shown on points between points A to B, which is coloured black, and points C to D, which is coloured green on the plan. Collectively, the applicant refers to the entire route as running from Apedale Road to Springwood Road. In support of the application, the applicant, Mrs. Wally, has submitted a petition of over 130 witnesses who have claimed to use the route on horseback and the length of use in each particular case. This can be found at Appendix C. In addition, the applicant has submitted 20 user evidence forms in which the salient points can be found in a table at Appendix D. When the application was submitted in 1994, the applicant identified 2 owners of the land, Staffordshire County Council and British Coal. At a later date, Staffordshire County Council was found not to be the actual owner. British Coal was unable to submit any information to either support or refute the application. This can be seen at Appendix E. A further landowner was later identified as Mr. B.M. Pepper. He stated that he believed the path floods in winter and sometimes can be quite dangerous. Mr. Pepper highlighted the nuisance caused by motorcycles on paths used by horses, citing damage to fences, verbal abuse, and added dangers of motorbikes riding around. Mr. Pepper remained neutral as to whether the path should be upgraded to a bridleway. Moving on to the evidence discovered by the county, a site inspection was carried out which identified the anomaly in the original application. The inspection revealed that the line of Footpath 39 that had originally been claimed was difficult to follow on the ground, and that the public appeared to have been using the alternative route. Staffordshire County Council clarified the position with the applicant, who confirmed that the alternative route was indeed the line she had intended to claim. The correspondence relating to this clarification can be seen at Appendix G. Mrs. Golding MP contacted the County Council directly in response to a letter received by the applicant querying why the County Council had fenced off the footpath alongside the Wood Lane Club. This was believed to have been done to prevent motorcycles using the paths, although this had also blocked the path for use by horses. The belief was the land was owned by British Coal. The County Council investigated the possibility of amending the barriers in question to enable horses to use the path while still preventing motorcycles. A Mr. Manifold contacted the County Council to complain about the increased use of motorcycles on Footpath 73, stating the stiles had been removed in November 1994. He stated that the path was only 3 foot wide in places and suggested this was not wide enough to accommodate walkers, horse riders and motorcyclists. Further safety and antisocial aspects were highlighted in that the entrance to the path was stated to be facing a senior citizens bungalow complex. Officers replied to Mr Manifold stating that they had authorised the erection of stiles on the line of Footpath 73 following complaints about motorcycles accessing the route. After the erection of the stiles, further complaints were received from horse riders complaining that they were unable to access Apedale Valley and were forced to ride on the road, presenting concerns from a road safety point of view. The stiles were removed to allow horse access, but given the risk to walkers caused by motorcycles using the route, the stiles were reinstated. The County Council confirmed that the reinstatement of the stiles was without prejudice to the application to upgrade the route to a bridleway status. An unsigned letter and petition dated the 29th of November 1994 was sent to Staffordshire County Council referencing Public Footpath 73 and objecting to the removal of the stiles on the path, and stated that without the stiles the path had become a quagmire of mud, with underage motorcyclists accessing the path. The width of the path was stated to be too narrow with steep sides in places, leaving nowhere for walkers to turn if confronted by a horse. In summary, the letter highlighted both antisocial concerns and health and safety concerns, which had arisen from removing the stiles and gates. The letter was attached to a list of 51 signatories, complete with addresses, all wishing the route to remain as a footpath and objecting to its upgrade to a bridleway. This can be seen at Appendix I. And Mrs Lewis, representing all horse owners and carriage drivers, expressed concerns that Apedale Woods paths would be lost if a new development forcing them to use a very busy and precarious roads. She stated that the relationship between horse riders and walkers was good, and that the main concern being that motorbikes churn up the ground or are very noisy. Moving on to the Statutory Consultees, Audley Rural Parish Council stated that they did not support the application. They considered it had always been used as a footpath and that if a bridleway was needed, it should go elsewhere. Access from Woodhouse Farm into Apedale was suggested as preferable. They also objected to the diversion of Footpath 39. This clearly referred to the original application which was submitted upgrading Footpath 39. Newcastle Underline Borough Council stated that the actions of the landowners had now made it only possible for pedestrians to use Footpath 73, where once allegedly both walkers and horse riders shared the facility. They had no objection to the application. Moving back to the evidence submitted by the applicants, the user evidence shows that there have been no interruptions to usage over the relevant 20-year period. The application was only made as a consequence of a challenge in 1994 to horse riders accessing the path, which were the barriers being erected to prevent motorcycles using the route. And so the relevant period of use will be from 1974 to 1994. The barriers had been erected to prevent the access of motorcycles on both antisocial and safety grounds. This was an acceptable solution from the rights of way perspective, as the route had the status of a public footpath and no higher rights. The stiles were installed without prejudice to the application, and this was reiterated by the County Council to the applicants. The horse riders who had used the public footpath for the relevant 20-year period had done so without seeking or being granted permission, and had done so without secrecy. The land in question being largely in the ownership of British Coal, whose open cast operations have ceased, and this renders them absentee landlords. Looking at the user evidence of the 15 users, a total of 4 claim to have used the route on a daily basis. 11 users on a weekly basis and 1 user several times a year. In addition, 2 users stated they use the path daily to weekly. The frequency of use, mostly on a weekly basis, could be considered sufficient to bring that use home to the landowner. This is further emphasised by the fact the users in question were horses and riders. It would be difficult for any landowner to claim he had no knowledge of such use, as horses are more noticeable than people, and horses affect the surface of a path, leaving longer lasting evidence than walkers. surface impact and hoof marks being some of the more visible markers. A total of 13 users stated that a gate or stile had been present on the route, although from the evidence it seems that these were installed due to the motorbike use and associated antisocial behaviour at the point of the challenge. The user evidence forms and signed statement testify to many years' use of the route, provides significant evidence that this has been done as of right, without permission, and by its nature without secrecy. The fact that stiles were only installed when motorbikes became a problem suggests that no one prior to this had complained about horses accessing the path. The evidence records periods of over 33 years' use, and there is no evidence that the landowner had intended not to dedicate. And so, in light of the evidence set out, it is officer's opinion that the evidence does show on a balance of probability that the route marked A to B ought to be shown as a route of a different description, namely a bridle way, and the route marked C to D is reasonably alleged to subsist and should be added as a bridle way to the definitive map and statement of public rights of way for the borough of Newcastle under Lyme. Thank you, Chair.
Sam, thank you very much. So recommendation is that we 2 seconds. The recommendation is to accept the application based upon the reasons contained in the report and outlined above. Members, any comments?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to say that I think sufficient evidence been put forward today, the amount of paperwork that we've received. So I'd like to move the recommendation.
Thank you. Have we a seconder?
Yeah, Chairman, I think that the evidence, as Alan Dodson has said, seems to be very conclusive, and I would be happy to second that.
Okay.
And I will gladly go along with it. I think the evidence has been made out wonderfully by Sam. It's clear, all the relevant periods are there. Everything that complies with Section 3 has been proven, and I go along with it.
Okay, so I'll go along with the recommendation as well. So the rights of way panel are basically accepting the application based upon the reasons contained in the reports outlined above. Could I just make sure that we emphasise that this is upgrade to a bridle way, not a greenway, so that it's for horses and horses alone,
Yes.
And that somewhere needs highlighting in the report.
Yes, and that's being a bridle way, it means motor vehicles cannot use it. It is purely for for walkers and horse use.
Okay.
Very
Thank you, members, and thank you, Sam, and any other officers that's been involved in that. It's appreciated. Before we go to exclusion of the public, can I right or wrong? When I said this was the last meeting, I've been